that government has launched a Youth Enterprise Support Fund. It's called the YES Fund. No bad at all. I think it's a very good thing. The seed capital is 10 million. It's intended for young people who have good business ideas, or already are into entrepreneurship. Perhaps they have difficulties with funding, and they have difficulties with funding because they've not gotten access, and as a result of that, maybe their enterprises are having some failings. You think this is a good one?
You see, it's a good idea. When it comes to funding, any effort to fund businesses, to fund startups, is a good effort. My only problem is, here we go, another acronym. I mean, we seem to be more inured towards setting up new structures.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. From the Nkrumah regime up to now, we've had structures that have seemed to work effectively.
And so if we did, with those times, they worked. And now we've added more. And with more, we're getting less. Why do we keep adding more then? Because when we had fewer institutions, my idea is that, look, you have the Ghana, you have the Ministry of Youth and Sports that deals with youth issues.
We have JIDA.
You have the National Youth Authority dealing with youth issues. JIDA has not been scrapped. In fact, the president, in launching this, also mentioned that the JIDA document is actually being put before Parliament, and as soon as Parliament comes out from recess, we'll be doing their JIDA. Is
that the law you're talking about?
Yeah, the JIDA bill. Then, now we also have the YES Fund. Another. Why can't we? Because when this YES Fund, we're going to be setting up clinics, whatever clinics in every region. It would mean administrative costs. Another set of there will be administrative costs. There will be infrastructural costs because those offices are not there yet. We would have to set up those offices, etc. By the time you finish, a lot of the money would have gone waste. Meanwhile, you already have structures on the ground. You have MASLOC, you have JIDA, you have NPA, you have MBSSI, you have all these structures. Why don't you
you have CODVET?
Yeah, you go to any of these institutions and say, you know what, I have a $10 million fund,
no,
10 million Ghana CD fund. This is what I want you to do. I want you to handle this this fund for maybe 5 years, and after 5 years, I want to have created X amount of entrepreneurial job business startups in this country, employed Y a number of people. It is a set goal for you. Now you take this money and make it happen, because they've already been there. They're already on the ground. They already know whatever is whatever the challenges are out there. CODVET, for example, they train these very youth who are looking into going into some of these things. But you see, we go and then we set up a new thing. We set up a new thing. It's the same call we made. It's the same challenge call we made when JIDA was being set up. And we warned government that, look, you already have structures in place. Because I'm a deputy communications director of the CPP, and the CPP put something out there at that time that, look, you already have structures in place. Let the structures work. Challenge if the structures have limitations, empower them, strengthen them, and let them do their work. But then you leave that structure there. It has, as we speak, JIDA, the people who work for JIDA are still being paid. We are paying for them. You see, and the government then turns around and says, are we getting value for our money? We're paying salaries to the JIDA authorities. We're paying salaries to NPA, NBSSI, CODVET, but whatever. And then we're setting up new ones, and we're not even giving them the tools to work. So yes, it's a good idea. But then you ask yourself, do we have to set up another thing just to do this when we already have structures on the ground? Because till we begin to make things work, we would just be wasting our time.
No, I hope that you're not expressing, because according to what we're having here, Ghanaian youth who qualify will be considered irrespective of tribe, gender, political, religious, or other consideration. He said that the initiative was part of the larger social program that will facilitate youth development in Ghana. What be your own? What's your problem?
Well, ideally, I shouldn't have a problem with that.
Good.
my concern is that this is coming from a government that has no track record when it comes to.
You mean the president has not been good?
Exactly. That when it comes to the management of any of these mushroom ideas that come up. You see, like my brother said, you have MASLOC, MBSSI, COTVET. You have an initiative that is meant to sort of turn the polytechnics into technical universities, for instance. Now, you go and you set up, a fund for 10 million. And like my brother was saying, this has to happen in a way that all the regional centers should have officers, right? They should have personnel. They are going to be paid. So what it really means is that more than half of these monies is probably going to go into the setting up of the structures, right? And what is actually going to go down to being invested in the youth will probably not be there at all. Now, is this necessary? Of course not. Because, I mean, the existing structures in place to basically channel these funds through. Now, I always say that it's quite shocking, right? And to understand, shameful that this particular government doesn't learn lessons, right? And I can state categorically, without fear or favor, that this is another 10 million Ghana cedis of Ghanaians taxpayers' money that is going to go to NDC operatives.
No, I think that would be unfair because it's been categorically stated that every Ghanaian youth who qualifies, irrespective of your tribe, your political affiliation, your gender, or your religious affiliation or affinity.
It was categorically stated that the JIDA was meant to be something for all the Ghanaian youth, isn't it? Now, who were these JIDA contracts given to?
Oh, okay, so those are the concerns in terms
exactly.
of...
Now, you would sort of make a linkage between JIDA and even what happened with the SADA projects. And the SADA projects was also meant to empower the youth in the northern part of this country. Right? What happened to it? Government goes there, sinks money into all sorts of funny projects, and as we speak today, the impact, there's absolutely zero impact.
Minimal impact, you say?
No, I mean zero.
Somebody will argue that is it not politically correct for you to make all these arguments because it inures to the benefits of whichever political party that is not in power?
No, but the facts
in opposition, I should put it rightly.
The facts are there. Your multimedia, right, had a journalist in-house who did an extensive research, right, did a documentary and came out with all the findings as to what really our taxpayers' monies went into, right, in some of these ventures that the government found itself in, right? And why would you circumvent all already existing structures to set up another fund, which is going to be managed by the same people who have no, I mean, in my estimation, have no integrity in terms of its track record in managing some of these things. So it's imperative, if it would just probably be a test case, that for once, if government is able to execute and does what it says it will do, there's even another fund, less debt and all that. It's meant to do exactly the same things, right? So why would you, right, put it there if it's not for just populist intentions? Why would you just go and then do a whole lot of PR gimmickry and then put a precedent?
Somebody say that the NPP and the other political parties are going on this very trajectory because it will make government and the NDC look very good politically running into the next elections in 2016.
No, but the things that the Ghanaian people, right, and I would see myself, even though I have a political hat on, I'll see myself as an ordinary Ghanaian.
You are not, because you're deeply rooted in the NPP.
Yeah, but then I go
to a constituency position, so it doesn't make you neutral, and your arguments necessarily are always.
I go to the market, right? I buy food.
You do.
I put fuel in my car, right? I pay electricity bills. I buy water because where I live, there has not been a single liter of water running through my tap ever. You understand what I'm saying? And these are what the ordinary Ghanaians are going through. So you have situations whereby people are dying of cholera, right? The health facilities are even undermanned. They don't have the right resources in place and everything. And then government channels 10 million Ghana cedis into another, I'll say, fund, which we all know is meant to basically create some kind of comfort for its own operatives.
Well, that's allegedly.
No, that's why.
From where he left off, is it that is a subject of misplaced priority?
It's rather.
Ghanaian youth don't deserve to develop their own ideas into businesses.
No, Ghanaian youth.
Is that an argument the political parties who are in opposition want to make?
All the political parties, I mean, have ideas towards developing the youth. In fact, in Nkrumah, for example, the CPP was the first party to actually set up a program.
That was way back.
That's the Young Pioneers.
Times have passed.
Yes, but
times have changed.
Times haven't changed. To date, most of the infrastructure that you and I boast of as a nation are infrastructure that was set up by the CPP then. So it hasn't changed. If times have changed and these ideas were old, how come the benefits of those old ideas are today what is maintaining us as a nation? So I don't think the ideas are old. But my point, the point I wanted to make on this, that we should be guided by history, is that let's take SADA, for example. We wanted to do afforestation and also employ the youth in the process. Instead of using the existing infrastructure of the forestry department, we bypassed the forestry department, set up a whole group with its board and etc. and all the administrative costs that came with it. And at the end of the day, how many trees did we get? How many trees survived? Whereas the forestry department is able
good
to...
excuses were given for the trees not being there
But you
at the time when those audits were undertaken.
Yes, but in the same period, the forestry department is still planting trees, even without support. Do you know what the forestry department did recently on their anniversary? They actually invited people to come over, and for your anniversary, your wedding anniversary, in memory of your parents or whatever, you plant a tree for free. So which means we paid monies for something that could be done for free. All it took was initiative and thinking. So you see, it is not about throwing money at things. The reason why the CPP maintains some of these things is that we always say that, look, what good governance is not about money. It's about thinking. It's about ideas. And that is what we have lacked.
Okay.
We have failed to propound in our...
That's your last word.
Okay.
You want to say something before we go? I think there were a lot of issues we could have talked about. Haif Togolese arrested for electoral fraud. The NPP crying over a $300 million dubious loan, they say. That's what the Daily Guide tax it. But I think the MPs were also in the approval process before the Parliament was adjourned and to be reconvened, I think, in October. So I don't know where the argument is coming from. You want to say something before we wrap up?
Yes, I mean, on the $300 million loan.
You're waiting for it. You should have prompted
me. Well, I mean, I think that the points raised are legitimate. And we have a history of that when we had this thing with the STS loan, the CDB loan, right, and concerns have been raised about this particular loan as well.
Right, this one just basically got to do with the conditionality.
Exactly, right. And now this is even from a bank that has questionable credentials, right? The bank is actually out in the United States seeking a $1.5 billion loan, right, and it's actually been turned down, right? And then, you know, Russia is a Russian bank, and the Russians are facing all sorts of sanctions because of their involvement in what's happening in Ukraine. So, I mean, we can take a step back. And this is something that, unfortunately, the NDC government is not very good at, that it would actually hold just their hands up and say, okay, we made a mistake, or we moved a bit too fast.
I don't know whether I also have to take you back. When John Kufuor was president, there was also a loan that we had a problem with. Is it the IFC?
No, but listen, but that was resolved, right? That loan never came into fruition. That was resolved. But in this particular instance, there's a history of STS, there's a history of CDB. Members of the minority have stated their concerns. They did, and it's come back to haunt us. So it's imperative that this government, probably now that we are actually seeking bailout from the IMF, and then we are also saying that we are trying to put together proper fiscal and monetary policies to help to save our economy, we should listen and make sure that the right things are done.
NPP, CPP, PNC. Which other one is it? GCPP.
GCPP.
I hear you people wanted a measure.
We're
We can
working
start
on a
that
measure, but this, I mean, this year we're very hopeful about it because the
gentleman speaking is Ernest Afram, is a Deputy Communications Director of the CBP, and he's also been joined by Eric Chum. Eric Chum is first Vice Chairman of the Trobu constituency of the MPP, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Okay, I hope to have you. I like the pair of you. You seem to be going about your argument in ferocious but still a very diplomatic way. So, all right.
All right.
We'll take a break.